Cole Grace here. We're going to talk about self love today. I always end up leading it back to that somehow, but today it's going to be the focal point. First, I guess I'll start by I've always kind of downplayed my trauma from childhood, my trauma, anything, how my chronic illness is, even dealing with things that I deal with today. It's not like I've figured it all out and I'm doing amazing. Like I'm doing better than I was, but it is still, my life is very difficult. Um, it is. And so, there's the chronic illness that I have, and I have these episodes of stomach pain, nausea, and sometimes can lead to vomiting, but it requires strong pain medicine to manage. And the problem with that is that also opioids and strong pain medication are addictive, but they, especially for people with trauma and mental pain as well, because it also numbs mental pain. And so when you take that for a physical pain issue and you realize, like, wait, this takes, the pain, I've never felt this relief, and being able to, like, I think one of the first times was when I was in college and I was able to focus more after Iraq. And, at first it feels like it's like helping and it's aiding you, but it slowly starts to become necessary, and you have to have a maintenance dose, and then you have to have more and more of it to get the same effect and to manage the actual physical pain. And so it becomes this crazy life where life's okay, everything's fine when I have it, but if I don't have it, then everything's not fine. And so I've been through that, and I've talked about how it's hard to have like set boundaries for yourself when I'm been retired, and trying to set my own routine. Like I only have to answer to myself, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have to do that, or I can do whatever I want. One of the things that I realized is that one of the main differences is that trying to quit and things like that when you don't have self love or when you have self hatred is very difficult. It's like you're self sabotaging, you're punishing yourself. And it's also weird because it's not like I hated myself at that moment. There was a version of myself that I was mad at, that I hated, and we'll get into that. I'll talk about where that came from. But I had that self hatred for that, and then it was like victim mentality, self pity for being why me. So it's a bad situation, and it's a really hard thing to manage when you need to have a medication sometimes that also feels good to take when you don't necessarily need it for the physical problem. So that's a difficult thing for me. And when I didn't have self love, it was impossible. So now that I love myself and care for myself more, it's still difficult. I still have to admit that. Um, I don't like being in pain. So when the pain starts, I want to take medication, and I have to check myself and be like, because your body's tricky. It'll mimic the stuff and try to get the medication any way that it can. So it's a very difficult thing to manage because it improves my quality of life, but at the same time, it can take over and it can ruin my life. So it's a very slippery slope to walk, and there's times when I still mess up. But the difference, like I said, is that I have self love and that I have a mission statement, I have a purpose, and I have these tools that I set up: humility, awareness, acceptance, all the things in the book that help keep me in check, and God as well. So those are some of the things, that it makes it very difficult not just dealing with trauma, but dealing with chronic illness, and then having to manage that with something, balance it with addiction, with something that I have a tendency that I've been addicted to in the past and that I like. So, being honest with myself and not justifying is important. But, we'll go into, I guess, yeah, how my life is difficult because so the issue there's four things. I worked with a machine in Iraq that used radiation to try to disarm bombs by radiating the metal, and the metal, like if you put metal in a microwave, it'll have a reaction. And that was the idea, is to the bombs would explode without anybody having to get out. You just drive this thing, shoot the ray at it, and boom, they blow up. And we tested it. It was a very large vehicle that couldn't operate well in the areas that were dangerous. So it was an easy mission at the time. It was our last 90 days. And we just went on like the main supply route. And then within an hour, the machine would break down and we'd be back home. So I honestly was like, this is a cake mission. I'll take it. It's easy. And we did that. Well, after that, and when I've come home, I've had unexplained stomach illness and stomach issues. On top of, yes, I had PTSD as well, but these episodes and these unexplained things where I'll tell you the four main things that lead me to believe that it's the radiation. When I was under 25, I don't remember exactly how old, I think I might have been 25. I had my gallbladder removed. And typically, I think is 90% of the people who have the cholecystectomy, whatever, that have their gallbladder removed, are middle-aged females. And then of that 90%, I think it's of people who've had what was called a porcelain gallbladder, which is what I had when they pulled it out. Of that 90% of those have a history of gallstones. And I've never had gallstones in my life, but my gallbladder was full of scar tissue as if I've had a lifetime of gallstones or radiation. When the surgeon was done, he remarked on it. He was like, I've never seen a gallbladder that bad in somebody as young as you. And that's crazy to have a porcelain gallbladder and you've never had gallstones, blah, blah, blah. So it was calcified and they removed it. That was one of the major things that had led me to believe the radiation. The other thing is I've been infertile since I've been back from Iraq. I've tried procedures like intrauterine IUI, where they take my sperm, clean it, and then inseminate with that. And we tried that procedure 5 times, and it didn't work. So I've had unexplained infertility. Then another thing is I have this weird thing called Raynaud's lingual. And what happens is when I go into cold water, I found this out with the ice bath stuff. When I go into cold water, my tongue swells up and turns white and it's tingly, like, like cold weather. I don't know, like it's that hurt, that tingly, painful feeling until it warms up. And I can't talk when it's like that. It was weird. It tripped me out. I was like, what is going on? Well, I looked it up, and it's called Raynaud's lingual, and you either have that because of an underlying autoimmune disease or because of radiation of the head or neck. It was pretty wild to read that. And then also, I don't have Raynaud's anywhere else, just in my tongue. And then the other thing is I have sleep apnea. And when I had sleep apnea, I don't fit the criteria for sleep apnea typically either. I'm not obese. Don't have the things that would cause that flap in your throat to like loosen or whatever. But it can also be related to PTSD. So that's what I have. They related it. They said, okay, it's because you have PTSD is why you have sleep apnea. But I also, after finding out about the Raynaud's thing, I was like, I wonder if sleep apnea can be caused by radiation as well. And so, yes, radiation of the head or neck can also affect that flap or whatever and cause sleep apnea. So those are the 4 things that are very odd anomalies that I've dealt with that lead me to believe that it's because of the radiation machine. And so because of that, I deal with these episodes of chronic stomach pain, and that, like I've talked about before, they get so bad sometimes that I want to kill myself and I don't want to live. But now I've built these systems to where I do the gratitude, the positive affirmations, the mission statement, and all the things I talk about in my book, and they help build a structure so that when I do go down that into those bad moments of pain, depression, bad mental health, that I have plan, and that I have a way to question or to answer the questions that come into my mind about, like, why are you still fighting? Why are you doing this? Why don't you just give up? So that's important. That's that self-love as well. And so it makes it really difficult, on top of just, dealing with the mental health. When these episodes come out of nowhere, they are very strong, and then they're unpredictable, and they're frequent, and they can happen in the snap of a finger. So I can be going to a wedding, and then I have to leave. So I don't like to ride with people. I drive myself. It's no offense, and it's just because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. So it's very hard for me mentally to even do things, because I don't want to, but I promise myself I won't be a hermit. And, I've flown and gotten sick flying. It sucks. It sucks really bad. But I would rather deal with that than just live life afraid, or like a recluse. I won't do that. But anyways, yeah, life can be very difficult, and then that makes it hard to manage addiction too, when it's, seemingly life sucks. So, like, what's the point of, why not take something that makes me feel better in the moment? So I have to have a lot of things in place to protect myself from becoming back into addiction, falling back into addiction, um, to deal with the chronic illness, the chronic episodes, and a lot of resilience. So there's the center of that is the self-love that I've developed, and that's using the tools that I talk about. And I've noticed a huge difference with trying to do some of the stuff with the underlying, like I said, self-hatred. But it wasn't like hatred of myself for, like, being an addict or being addicted, or being sick or anything like that. The hatred came from my younger self. So I was my younger years, I've talked about before. There's some childhood trauma, nothing major, but a lot of inconsistency and moving, and different households and babysitters and this, that, the other. So it was hectic. And I didn't really do that great in high school. Even though I was smart, I didn't really apply myself. Got like a 2.2 GPA, whatever. Wasn't very impressive. And then I got accepted at Northern Michigan University, and some of my friends did as well, on like academic probation. And I really wanted to go there with my like 5 friends from school. My mom had always said she's not willing to pay for me to go right to university. Rightfully so. I didn't. I got like a 1.1 GPA and didn't do well. But she said she would pay for me to go to the local community college, and if I did well there for the first 2 years, then she would pay for me to go to whatever university I wanted to finish up for the last 2 years. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be with my friends, so I found a way. And this is before 9/11, so it's not wartime. It's like right before too. It's July, August maybe. And I decide that I'm going to sign up with the National Guard in order to pay for my college, so that I can go to school with my friends, because I know better than my parents. I know better than mom. And so I do that, and I'm, you know, just for the first time away from home, I'm drinking. Um, haven't been to boot camp yet. And then all of a sudden 9/11 happens. And like it just becomes real. Like, oh no, I'm going to have to probably go to Iraq. I don't go right away. And, my life is like a country music. I like the girlfriend that I'm with at the time cheats on me. And we break up. I got fired from the job that I had with GM. And then I found out I was going to Iraq. And this is like 2004, probably June or July when the Pistons were playing in there, about to win the championship. So I find out I'm going to Iraq, and then I spend my 21st birthday with my grandpa, and then he ends up passing away when I'm in Kuwait. He always wanted to be the extra set of eyes duct taped to my back, so he got his wish. Um, and then I go over to Kuwait on January 1st, 2005. And then, over there and the radiation stuff. And so I come back, my life's messed up. I hated the person who wouldn't listen to mom, who had to go to Northern Michigan University and had to be with his friends so that he could party. And like, I hated that person. And it took a lot for me to forgive him. And, it makes me sad, obviously, to think about how he was messed up, from dealing with his childhood stuff at that time. So, the amount of hate and blame that I put on that version of myself was scary, and undeserved. So now I operate with more compassion and more self love and self understanding. And I have compassion for myself for what I have to go through, what I have to deal with in my life that I shouldn't have to deal with, but I don't have to blame it on anybody. I don't have to blame it on myself. I don't have to blame it on anybody. I just have to love myself through it. And that's tough, especially when, the inner critic and all of that uh, ego is looking for someone to blame. It's looking to hate because we feel so bad, because I feel so shitty. And there's got to be an outlet for me to be angry at. And, there isn't. It's not fair. It happened. And I have to deal with it. But being upset and being mad and being angry about it isn't going to help anything. So the key to the success that I have found has been self forgiveness, self love, and having compassion for myself, understanding instead of blame and hate. And it's definitely improved how I feel on a day to day basis, which is good. It doesn't change. I still go through those episodes. I still have stomach problems. I still deal with addiction. I still have to take medication that I don't want to take, but that my body wants and that I like. So it is a constant battle every day of my life, and I still have really great days, and I'm grateful for the life that I have and the many blessings that I receive. I don't know if I'd change anything. Without it, I wouldn't be able to be here in Costa Rica doing the things that I'm doing. And so I don't know if I would have not been sick, I don't know if I would have, how bad my addiction would have been to alcohol and partying and, you know, being sick like I was a little bit of a governor, even though it didn't slow me down that much. It still slowed me down enough to where if I didn't have any governor on me at that, from the time when I got back when I was 22 years old, who knows? I don't know how bad that could have gotten as far as partying and dealing with my trauma if I ever would have addressed it properly or if I would have just ran from it and hid from it that way. So things happen for a reason. I trust in God, and I believe God will heal me. And even if He doesn't, I believe there's a reason. And even if it's just that I have faith, even when it's a shitty situation, that I have faith even when I'm in pain. I don't know. Maybe that's a beacon of light for somebody. But I just you're not alone if you're struggling, and it might look like I don't struggle, but I do. Actually, I have a poem that I wrote. I'm gonna grab it off my phone real quick. Drinking some coffee, cold brew, cold brew, cold. All right. If you think I don't struggle, you must be struggling to think. First, I slowly start to sink. Before I know it, I'm on the brink. Then over the edge and over my head, and all I did was blink. I feel alone, trapped. Look in the mirror and don't like what's looking back. Thinking my future is somehow defined by my past. Wondering how long these feelings will last. They last until you stop making excuses and act. It won't be easy, that's just a fact. It will be worth it, though, I guarantee that. Focus on me, quit trying to blend in with the pack. I can better my future by reconciling with my past. Looking back, I didn't really care if I crashed. I treated myself like trash, so much self hatred that I stashed. But now I appreciate what I have. I know it could be gone in a flash. I have faith in God because this too shall pass.
So, what are some ways that you can develop the self love that I'm talking about, the practical ways? Well, some of the ways are I use gratitude practice, gratitude journal, where I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for in the evening before I go to bed. And I do positive affirmations. And I find these positive affirmations around areas of my life where I have negative self talk. So you got to monitor your self talk and look for how do you speak to yourself? Would you speak to your friend like that? And mine was really bad. So you have to change that self talk when you catch yourself using your awareness with that negative self talk, and you're going to flip it into a positive affirmation. So if it's something like I'm stupid or I always mess this up, like I'm intelligent, I always figure things out. Or, I am lovable, I am loved, I am confident, I am worthy, I'm more than a collection of my symptoms. Being sick doesn't benefit me. I am a humble leader. I am clean. I am a loving, caring, compassionate man. I love God and God loves me. I'm grateful for the life that I live and the many blessings that I receive. I will never kill myself. God will heal me. I can trust other people. I can trust myself. So there are my positive affirmations that I'm doing right now. I memorize them, but you can obviously have them written down or whatever on your phone in a note. And I repeat those in the morning and in the afternoon. I repeat those a lot, quite a bit, especially if I'm feeling depression or anything like that. I do deep breathing. So there's box breathing, 4 seconds in, hold it for 4 seconds, 4-second exhale, hold it for 4 seconds, and repeat the cycle. It helps calm the nervous system. Then I also am practicing repentance and forgiveness, which is what I was just talking about with that self-hatred, forgiving myself and being more understanding and compassionate of myself, of the version that I hated. There was a lot of just dump on that. It wasn't rational, like
the choice that I made at that time wasn't the greatest choice, but the amount of hate and blame and guilt and shame that I associated with that, it was everything. It was like putting everything on that. And in doing that, it made it to where I didn't care if I had addiction. I didn't care if anything about myself. I needed like somebody else to be responsible to. Like when I had a wife, it was easier for me to do better because I had somebody who I was accountable to. Because I didn't accountable to myself. I hate myself, whatever at that time. That's how I felt. And so, using those tools. And then I also have a mission statement that I use. I wrote that out, and it helps also when I'm in depression or having episodes or suicidal ideations. And then I go back to my gratitude journal. I use my positive affirmations, and I read my mission statement. And then, like I said, the repentance and forgiveness of myself. Also doing like inner child meditations, or I went back and like the different versions of myself, epochs of 0 to like 5, and then or 0 to 8, I think was mine, 0 to 8, and then like whatever 9 to 17. And so that I broke it down into different eras of my life when things were changing and different things were going on, and went through not all at once and all in one day, but one at a time, those different versions of myself, and had understanding and love and grace for what they had went through, and their experience. Whereas I found I had a lot of judgment before, of myself, bad, negative, and so doing those and using those tools were practical ways that I developed self-love, and flipped my negative thought patterns and very negative hating. Every time something went wrong, man, I would jump on myself like, yep, that's because you're an idiot, and it was bad. I talked about another video where I had it set up like, I have, no matter what, I can hate myself. So if I've been doing good for too long and feeling well and not having episodes and taking care of myself and feeling good, I hate myself because I did feel like I don't deserve the disability, and I'm not disabled enough to, whatever. And then when I'm too sick, when I'm having, I'd be Goldilocks. I had to be sick a certain amount of times in the week for it to be legit, like whatever. If I'm sick too much, then I'm like not taking care of myself. I'm not good on my mental health stuff. And like, look at you want to kill yourself, and you're trying to write a book about mental health. This is back before I wrote the book, obviously. And so there's these tools help me not go down that negative spiral as far as I used to, and the depression and all that to hit me for, months at a time. I pull way out of it way quicker, and I'm able to combat the just a little shimmy shake. I'm able to slip those suicidal ideations. It's not something to joke about, but it really does help with that. It helps with my day-to-day mood. It helps me when I go through those episodes to understand that it's not permanent, that they're going to pass, that it's going to be okay, and that I have a lot of times that are good in my life, that it's not always like this. And so that's my tactics, and that's how I survive this crazy thing called life. Love you guys, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.